Power packs, correct. Light them up, is that what I said? Light them up. Okay, I'd like to call the February 13, 2023 meeting of the Hampden Board of Selectmen to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being conducted in person and broadcast over Zoom. Our board is recording it. Is anybody else recording it? Probably just as well. Okay, first on, no minutes, Pam?
Oh.
All caught up? Okay. Well. All right, first on the agenda is the building department. And we welcome, please turn on your mic. We welcome Wendell to the stage. How are you, sir?
Fantastic, sir.
Tell us about the building department. How's your budget?
Fine. We're doing great. Everybody's content. The work keeps coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Hampden is getting busy, or at least Chapin Road.
A few new developments going in up there.
7, is it?
Several houses on the slate. That's why when I was talking to you about the power up
Right.
the street earlier,
Mm-hmm.
we've had like, I don't know, half a dozen built on that street already in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're gonna have 7, 8, 9, 10 new ones also.
And these are all frontage lots too, no subdivision, nothing like that, so, good.
And there's a few of them that sold that actually have like conservation issues, but people still seeing, now it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
worth it for them to buy. Before a stream crossing would stop people, now it seems like it's getting to the point where it's worth doing the engineering.
Sure. As long as they don't find a turtle, they're okay, right?
That's not my department. They like living in, everybody wants to live in Hampden now.
Sure, good,
I understand why.
good.
I know it's a little bit off topic here, but you were talking about the power issues on Chapin Road and then all the new developments going in. Is there anything we should be on the lookout for? I mean, I know I've had a couple residents complain to us previously about their power issues, but
And that's what we've been talking about up there for years. I have friends that live up there that have flickering lights or lose power
Right.
a lot. I don't know if it's the line, I don't know if there's too many people pulling off of what's going on up there,
Sure.
or they need more transformers. That's for them.
Probably a combination of everything.
Yeah, but I also feel like if we stick another 7 or 8 houses on that, I don't see it making things better.
I mean, everybody always complains about Chapin Road losing power. I mean,
Right.
is that maybe that's the reason?
There's a lot of dead trees on Chapin Road. too.
Pushing too much voltage through the straw.
Mhm.
These new houses all have 200 amp services.
Mhm.
Right.
Right, and everybody now is being channeled towards getting a heat pump or, some electric scenario, solar.
Right.
Central
So
air.
they draw a lot.
Mhm.
Now the new houses have to have, in the garages, they have to have outlets for the new cars, and they have to be solar ready.
Is that new building code?
It's in the new energy code.
New energy code?
And the new building code will be dropping soon.
Yeah.
And it'll be in that.
So every house has to be
Solar ready
regulated?
is already in the code.
Mhm.
Okay.
But as far as, charging for the cars and everything, that'll be coming for sure.
Okay.
So there's going to be more of a draw on any new house that goes in there if they're using that.
Yeah, and people aren't leaving and going to work anymore. They're all staying home using power all day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That'll be interesting to see how it works.
Something we got to dig into a little bit more, I think.
Right.
Not to
Okay.
deviate you from your budget.
Thank you. So
It's
tell
an
us about,
easy one.
that's it, tell us about
Simple
your
math.
budget. Is the bulk of the change pretty much the COLA adjustment as
That's it.
recommended by advisory, and then some, basically it's reimbursement of expenses?
Right, so when I submit my mileage, I get reimbursed,
Mhm.
and the rate has gone up.
Mhm.
Actually, Cliff was the one who kind of told us that it was, I think, I don't wanna quote it, but it's like 63 or 64 cents, I think. And I was still in the 50-cent range, so we've had to take money from one account that I have and put it in that for reimbursement. And it's basically it's all the permitted travel. So when there's a permit and there's 3 inspections, that's how we figure the mileage.
Sure.
It doesn't include all the, going out on Friday afternoons to look at houses that got hit with trees and stuff.
Right.
65 and a half.
Thank you.
I just looked at.
That's what it was.
There was conversation, I think, earlier where maybe there was a brief conversation about a town vehicle.
Right.
With this reimbursement, is that pretty much, would it be more trouble than it's worth at this point?
I wouldn't have a problem having a town vehicle either. I just, my concern is most of the time you'll get a town vehicle, it'll be tired. And my budget doesn't have repair work in it. So I don't want to get something and then exhaust my budget trying to fix it.
All the time.
Right. So that would be my only reservation with regards to it. But it works out okay with the reimbursement as well. I could easily drive a more economical vehicle than my truck, but a lot of these jobs that we're going on these days, you kind of need the capacity to get out there. Billy and Linda Bond building houses a mile in the woods.
Okay. Not a full mile,
No.
I'm sure, yeah.
No.
Okay. All right, does the board have any questions about, John, you see a copy of it?
Yeah, I saw it, yeah. Scrutinized it thoroughly.
You want to know how you bought that shirt? You had a real concern about that.
When I was hired, they didn't give me a shirt. But then as I passed my test and became valuable, you guys gave me a shirt.
How many shirts do you have?
I think I have 4 now.
No, shouldn't it be commissioner now instead of inspector?
So I think you're gonna keep, now I've been here, I just had my 10-year anniversary, so I feel like you're gonna keep me for another couple of years, maybe.
Sure,
It went by quick.
sure. Glad you think that. That's great. All right, any questions for Wendell?
No.
Great. When do you meet with, tonight?
6:15, right?
Okay.
Is your permit
Yeah, Tom.
revenue still exceeding cost of service?
I haven't really sat down and drilled that down recently. Usually when we have a large solar field permitted, it really evens everything out. The purpose behind the budget fee schedule is supposed to be so that it's equitable for the town to have a building department, but also not make it so that everybody that comes in is like unfairly taxed, or, it's a balance where you want people to come in and get permits.
Right.
And you don't want to overcharge. So that's why even when I did the new fee schedule, it's still lower than a lot of the surrounding communities.
Okay.
But it's not crazy low. The numbers that I think that we adjusted more were commercial numbers or just minimums. Because a lot of times now when I do a plan review, it takes time. And so I'm trying to sit there and cover the time and the processing, without clubbing people with it. But I think we do really well in that manner. We're a service. We're not supposed to be a draw.
So I'd asked you, right, it's not necessarily like a for-profit. We want to
Right.
make sure we cover our costs. When I asked you to look it
Exactly.
over,
Right.
and so your assessment right now is it's something to monitor, but you don't see a real need to do any adjustment at this point.
I think I had made or given you
I don't know.
guys
There
some
was something
proposed
last week,
ones.
right?
And that's basically just kind of filling in loopholes that were already in the existing one. And now we have solar ESS, which
We
is
saw it
solar
last
battery
week.
storage.
Last week.
It's right here. In the folder.
Behind the building department budget, you don't see it?
On the other side? There it is. No,
Here's one, and it's got the changes highlighted.
thank you.
Look it over, John. Thank you. And basically, it's just about, cost of construction,
Right. So I see the proposed. I don't have a sense of what it was before. For instance, I see you,
Here's your original.
previous, thank you. 7 to 9, 7 to 9,
Right.
basically.
And most of the communities probably in eastern Mass or a little further east from us are all $10 anyways and have been for years. When I did this with Lance in 2018, I did a survey of the surrounding communities and found what they were charging. And then just kind of blended it into our scenario. And Wilbraham has the same fee schedule right now as well.
So I
They
see,
might want to look at updating theirs as well.
right, no change in the plumbing, I see, and a pretty minimal change in electrical, just the commercial.
Exactly.
The residential seems to be obviously going from 100 to 150. And your point is that that really brings us in more in line with other communities?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That formula in the center of the page is what we use when somebody brings in their $5,000 two-car garage. And I have to calculate
Yeah.
the actual, cost. That's an equitable way for me to do it. It's not
Okay.
too much.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same respect, most of the time people come in pretty honestly.
Mhm.
But they're always afraid if they come in and, that the tax man will come after them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, I give my stuff to the assessors, but I don't tax on that. And a lot of stuff I think people are afraid of being taxed on that you don't get taxed on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did the board have a chance to look over these?
Yes.
Yep.
Move approval of the fees, proposed fee structure, by the building inspector's proposed fee structure.
All right, do you want them to go into effect July 1st or earlier than that?
July 1st.
Okay.
That'll give me a chance to have some outreach for the frequent people that come in, like the solar companies or the plumbers, electricians. That way I can send them out fee schedules when I'm sending them out their permit applications, so
Okay.
they'll be aware of it.
Yeah, you may want to also put how you put that in the town report. Make
Right.
sure it's highlighted, this is effective next.
Fiscal year.
That's the thing, so we're printing the town report, Don, as of
Yeah,
last
so-
year, next year. I mean, you may want to put both in there. These are 2022,
My thought was get it out on the website,
yeah.
and then just like I said, most of the time, people are calling for their permit fees anyways. It really hasn't been a large issue with transitioning from one to the other.
Okay.
Do you have it laid out like that on the website right now? Just that whole sheet?
That
Yeah.
fee schedule.
That's
is
just like
there.
that listed?
Right.
Yeah, good.
So I could we could put out a feeler and just say, effective July 1st. And again, I would just hit all the people I can with copies of the new fees.
As long as you tell Al Joyce we're all set, right?
He's smart.
Got them all in? All right,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Craig,
I did.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good luck downstairs. They're much tougher than we are.
I'm not used to
Action on ambulance. I don't know which one. Could have been one of those two, That's all right. Good evening.
Hi.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman, and yourself?
Okay.
All right then.
Me? Okay, I move the board exercise the option to extend the contract with Action Ambulance for a period of 1 year pursuant to the clarification and agreement on language in certain sections.
Do we have that clarification yet? Do we have a timeline of this clarification?
Well, Greg had a few things last week.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would also like to have the ambulance oversight committee to go through all the action items on the current contract, see what they think works, see if there's anything that needs to be amended or added or verbiage changed. There's a few things in there I think that need to be addressed for sure.
Well, can you articulate them?
One, I'd like to see the fire chief listed as the designee and the respondent instead of the police chief. I'd like to see if we are some type of reimbursement for the town when they're not receiving ALS coverage, since BLS coverage happens quite frequently. And again, this past weekend for a 12-hour shift.
And typically the only penalty is on response time of this. point, right?
Response time, yep, there's that. And I'd like to make sure there's a little bit more oversight on the response times. For most part, they're good, but there are some that are over 10 minutes. And those are supposed to be reported to a variety of boards, and the Board of Selectmen is one of them. I don't think I've ever seen any report on that, whether they've worked their way out or not. I don't know what the actual, resolution was to anything over 10 minutes. Section 11 was one that I think didn't make any sense because it stated that in the event of first line ambulance service is not available, should the need exceed a single ambulance, that the contractor shall provide a backup ambulance. But then it states in that same paragraph that if the contractor is unable to provide a backup ambulance, they would respond with mutual aid. So I want to know, just clarification, are you definitely providing a backup, or is it may provide a backup instead of shall provide a backup? Just a little verbiage there. And then, like I said, I'd like to kind of use the year as a bridge, a stepping stone, to see if we can get our department trained a little bit more. I know there's a clause in the contract now to allow training to our fire personnel to get them up to speed. So if we need to get paramedics on board, maybe we can utilize that training as well. A bunch of little things there I think could go a long way.
Well, I think those are good suggestions. I don't think any of us have a real issue with more accountability in the contract.
I don't have any issue with more accountability, but I think we have to understand where the accountability will lie. Okay, and so if we put it on the fire chief, he used to do it.
Mhm.
Okay, and as far as reporting the 10-minute overtime, that I believe is the responsibility of the dispatch center to let us know that, according to the contract. So we better check with them how we can get that done.
I think it's in response times over 10 minutes, actions shall submit a written report within 24
What does it
hours.
say before that? What does it say? What's this line before that?
I'd have to pull the contract up. That was just where the verbatim there.
So,
Do you have an issue with making changes like this? that you see?
I think the suggestion about sending it back to the ambulance review and study committee to talk about those proposed changes is a good suggestion. I think that there's obviously some downstream impact by making some of those changes. As Mr. Davenport reported that the fire chief might be, have to do more oversight than what's currently going on right now, which we're fine with. Who we're reporting stuff to, it doesn't matter to us. It's just what's that impact going to be as that public safety, members of that public safety team as well. So having that conversation is not difficult for us to read through that.
Well, I go back to, I'm not sure if it's onerous for the fire chief. I would say his fire chief or his designee. I think as Don has mentioned before, we have 3 full-time staff members, all of which should be able to do normal paperwork during the day
yeah, but
as
they
well.
don't, right?
I understand
Jane
that.
does
That's
the
what I'm saying.
paperwork, they don't. That's
And
the
what
problem.
I'm saying is,
And we
maybe
pay them
let me finish.
$50,000
Let me
between the
finish.
three of them.
Maybe we should be tasking them to do more of these things. And that's certainly a conversation when we have that fire department meeting, which we haven't yet. So, process for going through with this,
So
Craig.
just on that clarification Don was asking for in that verbiage there, response time, it says response times over 10 minutes by the primary dedicated ambulance, except when weather or traffic conditions, which are beyond the control of the contractor, cause such a delay,
Yeah, read the reporting part. Above
shall be
that.
reviewed by the contractor and the fire chief, and the contractor shall submit a report in writing via email to the fire chief and select board within 24 hours of the incident.
What's the line before that? Or the yellow highlighted,
All times will be tracked by the Hampden Police Department Communications Center.
which is the dispatch.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the contractor is the one supplying the times because they track the times too.
The question is, has this been submitted to dispatch center? And like you said, have
See,
we seen this type?
the problem we have is here, is neither the chief, the fire chief has probably never read the contract. And I don't think the police chief read it until he became police chief, or, I don't know, he may not have even read it yet. Have you?
Can you guys turn your mics on? We can't hear.
They're on.
Mics aren't gonna,
The mics are for Zoom, for the recording.
if you want then, and this is something we talked about before, if you want to have this discussion next week, we can invite the fire chief and invite the police chief back as well, so we're all on the same page. And I think we're talking about things we don't have all the parties in the conversation.
Sure.
Originally, when the contract was being drafted, as I recall, it was going to be assigned to the fire chief. Since we had police chief with a lot of tenure and a new fire chief, we wrote police chief into the contract, thinking that we would change it. So,
Right, so the contract you're looking at, Craig, is that the one that was voted and implemented, or the one that was voted?
The one that was
not
voted and implemented.
and implemented? Okay, fine. So we're making conversations about what the fire chief is doing and isn't doing without really having him in the conversation. I'm not sure that's fair. I do think the suggestions you make are pretty well stated. I mean, they're easy to implement. I think they can be worked out between action. For instance, you want to be responsible. You want to make sure reporting is done right. Obviously, we have a concern about the drop in ALS to BLS service, but you've made a point, and it's been, I think, borne out that you're doing all you can to improve that.
Yeah, we're really actually in a good spot right now. We have actually 8 paramedics coming on board between full-time and part-time.
So we would
Yeah,
anticipate that
right
the next
now.
fiscal year is not going to see the level of
Correct.
degradation we saw last time.
Right now, it's
Right.
improving, so.
So you shouldn't have a problem with therefore making that change.
Yeah, I mean, but there are also unforeseen circumstances that we're not always in control of as well, too.
Well,
Similar to.
and I think you have to recognize there's not an ambulance system in the nation that isn't having problem with staff and keeping staff in.
And I
Providing
understand,
staff.
that's why I think, for instance, the same thing with the fine for the excessive things, it was a potential, same thing here. You could waive it based on extenuating circumstance. You're making the point, everybody's going through it. There are extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
We're not saying this has to be absolute, but it may incur a fine, is what you're saying.
Right, and I think the extenuating circumstances of personnel and staffing, that's a stretch in my opinion. We signed a contract to a certain extent. It's
Yeah.
mandated in a contract. In my business, if I offer client A 400 widgets and I'm only delivering 300 to them, they're not going to expect to pay for 400 when I can only give them 300. So in a business aspect, we're paying for something that we're not getting.
No, but I think we deserve to give them a chance to plead their case at least, not
Oh,
just.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right.
extenuating circumstances, it's not a hard and fast rule. It's just,
Exactly.
know.
Just be aware that there's a potential that a fine could be implemented for loss of ALS service, but it may not be. Things may happen. You might say there was a horrific accident in Springfield. It involved 12 ambulance companies handling it, and we had to do our part to help out. Okay, we're not heartless. We understand that happens. Something like that might be a thing. So, God forbid it is.
but again, like I first mentioned, I'd like to kick it back to the ambulance oversight committee, review, take our suggestions, go through what they think works, doesn't work, and just kind of amend as needed for an extension.
Right. Well, looking at it in terms of the time that's required, when does the ambulance committee have its next posted meeting?
We had agreed to go back to quarterly meetings, which is what it says in the contract. We've had some special meetings for obvious reasons. I'm sure that the committee can convene another special meeting probably next week, or for next week. So. You didn't hear that?
We had a meeting, and as a committee, took a vote regarding the extension of this contract. We voted 4-1 to extend it.
Well, Craig is asking for your input on the proposed changes to the
On
contract.
the contract, not an extension. I'm looking for the verbiage of the contract. You want to extend it as is? Is that your recommendations, or are you agreeable to?
That's what we undertook at the meeting on January 25.
Okay.
This
How come nobody took the onsite on to say, where can we do better on this contract?
Well, a contract extension, do you want to open the door to modifications, or do you want to accept the contract as it is? When you open the door to modifications, you open that back and forth.
Correct.
Right,
That's what we're looking for.
right.
So we can certainly have a discussion.
Okay, so the,
We've already met and voted. I want to put that out there. No, not a question, just a comment. I have to say that Senior is very satisfied with the service that we have. Especially with the senior council, the senior comments, the senior right on time.
I don't think anybody's questioning the quality of the service, because when the service is there, it's good. Yeah. But I think, you know, we, you know,
Well, I think it's incumbent upon any responsible board to
ask the tough
always-
questions, you know,
Right.
let's
Can
scrutinize,
we
you
do
know.
better? Can everybody do better? Right. We're gonna do the same thing with the waste contract as well, when that comes forward, right? Right.
Charter.
so, so the motion is the board exercise the option to extend the contract with Action Ambulance for a period of 1 year pursuant to the clarification and or agreement on language in certain sections. And, right, so we would have to negotiate, the ambulance committee would talk to you about it.
Well, I think it's a good motion, certainly our intent, but can we move that based on, we don't know what they are? I mean, I think you make the good point. Basically, we're in agreement, we want to extend with Action for 1 year. We think there are some things that can be improved in the contract for both parties, both the town and Action as well, to protect both and improve service. We'd like to engage with the ambulance committee to delineate what these are, and then come back with a formal vote to extend the contract amended.
With the criteria listed.
Right. We think that can be done. You think that's a course of action, Don, that works out?
Well, seeing there's no second, I have no, I have
No,
no
but I mean,
choice.
Doesn't really change what you're doing. I mean, it's
No,
tough to
no,
make a
I'm,
move that we don't know what
I'm
they are.
also concerned about the time frame because we're coming to town meeting, we
Mm-hmm.
need to get the dollars in there, what the dollars are gonna be and what we're gonna do.
All right, let me ask the chair then. When's the earliest, Donna, you think you guys can meet?
We're getting communications that anyone who wants to speak from, sitting over here, could you please
one of
come and
those new
talk into a
things?
mic, because they're not
No,
able to
they're
hear.
not available.
Oh, really?
So, there's a question for Donna. Can
When do you think your
come up and
committee can meet?
comment?
Well, we have 3 people. When can you meet?
Well, you
Yeah.
gotta post it.
Well, you gotta post it, I mean,
Well, actually, it's got probably be executive session if it's a contract negotiation, right?
We should probably do an executive session, yeah.
yeah, but you'd need 48 hours. You guys think you could meet Thursday and with you and
Can't do
discuss
this
changes?
Wednesday.
Thursday?
I think so.
What? And then we'd have hopefully those for Tuesday, Don.
Thursday?
We have it for Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, the 16th?
How about you, Mike?
Gotta see, do we have-
One of your people has to be there.
You can figure it out.
Okay. Great.
Is she on?
Cool.
Lori Beth, are you here?
Like a seance. Lori Beth, are you here?
We are late for the 16th. No, this is Monday.
Right, yeah. Okay, so the afternoon of 16, sometime to be determined, Donna?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
The evening.
Evening be best, sure.
Thank you.
Good. All right, well, that's work out?
Yeah, make it work.
And
Okay.
you'll send us some document or
moving
something
on.
with the things you want us to review?
May I request that the board of selectmen give us their suggestions for the contract?
Yeah.
By Thursday morning, so we can take a look at it.
Yes.
Same thing with Action Ambulance. Sure.
Yeah.
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 All right, is this a, quickly, is this a meeting we need to post and attend, or are we confident with?
No, I think we'd let them do their thing.
Well, I think I'm happy with Craig attending to bring it and explain any of the things he explained to us.
All
I
right.
mean,
Well-
most of them are here. They heard my suggestions. I could put them in written form like Jim requested and
Yeah.
send it
Take
along.
written form.
Put them written
We don't
for
need
them,
you at the
get it
meeting,
done.
no. I know.
Wow.
Well, maybe I
You
will
said
show up
need
then.
or want, I
Maybe I
think,
will
yeah,
show up.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks,
Kitty.
Mike. Going in again.
You're withdrawing your motion.
Withdraw the motion.
Now that we've warmed everybody up for Scott.
Good. Which part? The part where you get paid?
Nice one. Boom, snap.
I
But
should be
before,
careful, he's got a gun.
yeah, really, or a taser. He has a new taser,
Yeah.
don't forget.
Oh, yeah, got the new.
Before
taser.
the chief speaks, I think there's someone who needs to be recognized here. Kathy. Come on, come on, Kathy.
Hey.
Nish. Kathy and Eddie. Come on. Well, who does all the work? I mean, Scott just puts on the pretty face, but Kathy, you've been doing the job for so long, you need to be thanked.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Trying to keep her even longer if we can, so we gotta be nice.
You gotta sell.
All right. What do you got?
I don't have a cruiser.
That's good. Start. Is the resource officer, you know, we put that resource officer, is that in this budget?
So we wanna go there first, we can do that.
Yeah, I
Yes, the
just-
school resource officer we put into the budget, taking
It
it.
just popped into my
funding
head.
we're using. That's why,
Just popped in my head at my age. If it pops in there, you gotta say it.
All right.
Because it's gonna be gone.
all right. So we did put the, school resource officer in 2 shifts a week, 4-hour blocks.
Can I make a quick point about that? We talked about that last year. So you're bringing in somebody at overtime for the school resource officer, is that the $59 an hour?
Well, we have to, by contract, we have to cover that officer's position. Happened to be because of our changes with this, because of our situation we had in our police department. That school resource officer went to another shift. And he's coming down to the day shift this week. And this week, we'll have him, again, has to be replaced when he goes over to the school. Before, it was shift for shift. You go to the
Right.
school, you shift to replace. And yes, you have to pay overtime for someone to replace.
Is he coming on to the first shift just for the week, or is it back to his
No,
regular
he's
shift?
coming back to normal, 7 to 3 shift, yes. So when he goes to the school, I need to have coverage for him
For 4 hours while he's there?
for a 4-hour block.
So you have 3 hours on, 3 officers on for a shift, right?
We have the detective and then the 2 patrol officers. That's good, we're gonna go back to now, normal procedure this week with everybody up at full staff. So
there's
I
no-
have the detective
Yeah,
who does the court work,
right,
does whatever else work is going on.
right.
So the expectation was when the school resource officer went over to the school, we bring in a 4-hour block, that's what we were doing.
Now go back to, so at 8 o'clock in the morning, you have 2 officers, a detective, and a sergeant. You don't have a sergeant.
Not,
Mike is not on first shift?
Mike's on first shift, but he's part of patrol, so I got, Mike is a sergeant.
Okay,
one
so he's one of the
patrol
2
officer,
officers
He's
then.
one of the 2 officers.
I
right.
see, all right, yep. And the detective is, not to get into your business here, the detective is so busy every day, he can't be a school resource officer a couple times a week?
He's not that busy, but the problem, it takes him out of doing his duties if we have court or an arrest. But yeah, we said we would try to slide him
Right,
if we
yeah.
could.
Yeah.
But the detective went back to, we didn't have that opportunity. That detective went back to patrol.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have someone to slide in. This year, with the new roster coming forward, with everybody
Right.
back up to full, there's a
Right.
chance that we could put that detective in there on a regular basis, but it's taken away from his position from what he does. So I was trying not to do that.
And I understand that, but he does that, I think my point I'm getting at, he does that 5 days a week, or you never know.
you never know.
And what's been the experience, with detective work? Has he been busy every day of the week?
Lately, we've been having him work on different calls, and he's actually just was out at Maynard, Mass for the breathalyzer to be certified. So he's like the utility guy on our day shift, where we don't have to pay for his coverage. So he had to go out to Maynard, Mass, he had to wait for the breathalyzer to be certified. We had hearings for traffic hearings on traffic citations when you appeal a citation, a couple times a month. Evidence, we have firearms destruction that he would run out to either Maynard for destruction or take the firearms to a secure location where we have to. So he does have duties to do, and that was one of the reasons why we had the detective's position, utility detective's position, put into place.
SRO, we beat that to death, Don, or you got more?
No, kill that one.
Shot.
What else you got there?
I see, election town meeting expenses way down, being an off year, of course.
One thing that I can bring forward to is basically for discussion, we had talked about the SBA lease. So we're coming to an end to where we added that in the budget, in our budget. Now, we had talked, or I'd actually mentioned of a possible line item because it's the fire, police, radio systems that are on that. So the budget can decrease if we take that 27 out of there that's in the.
Which line item is that on? Which page?
So
It's
that would
almost
be
the
under our general
communications.
expenses.
Okay, under communications or no?
Under communications, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the SBA infrastructure, 27.8.
Still gotta get there.
Well, I put that in there, not knowing for sure which way we were going, but it was a town vote, at a town meeting, it was a line item previously. But we gotta find, we're going to do that again, or,
Yeah, it was just a separate,
Right.
police, fire, communications, it said, right?
correct,
So you're talking about the tower on Commercial?
yes, village, yeah.
Now, have we ever looked into seeing if there's any clause? I know other towns and municipalities are able to get a lease free on certain towers like that because it's part of emergency communications. Is that anything we've reached out to them? You're like, hey, we reserve, the top 10 feet of your pole for emergency communications and not have to pay that lease.
I have not, that was already established through Chief Farns working
Right.
previously, the town, and maybe the fire chief. I just came into
Right.
what we were paying, so I did not look into anything like that.
When we signed the document with SBA,
Mhm.
our document allows for House Road to be free of charge.
That's because our property, right?
But because we don't have any control over the other, and that was in the agreement and it was not discovered until we.
But is that contract coming up though? Is that what we were saying? That's what I'm wondering. Is that contract coming up now? Is that what you said?
We're kind of running out of money for what we had put
In for that.
in for that, so now we have to re-up that.
And how long is that contract? Do we have that date of that renewal? Don't know offhand. Just something to ponder.
Did you know if that's what we had? Yeah, I don't think there was an end date. I think we just, as a town, kept putting money into that, and then.
I didn't know-
we have to revote.
Right, I don't
I don't know
know,
what our lease agreement was with SBA is what I'm asking, I guess.
right, but I mean, it's a privately owned tower. I'm not sure what sway we would have to induce them, since the permit's already been given for the tower and it's constructed. At this point, you're saying, hey, at the beginning, could we have said, okay?
Yeah, and I don't know if, like I said, if there are contract
20-something
renewals,
years
like,
ago,
can we say,
right.
hey, emergency management, trumps everything?
I'm not thinking it's a contract renewal. I
Yeah.
think we got into it, as John said, and we just have to continue to.
At this point, we're a tenant.
We're,
Right.
yeah, yeah, good way to put it, sure.
All right, so you've kept, look at the bottom line here, and the bottom line is good. Your bottom line pretty much stays the same, basically, because you take the cruiser out. And you're able to accommodate the increases inside the 50,000 you're saving on the cruiser cost, right? Yeah. What happens next year when we need a cruiser? You know,
Well-
we're gonna see a bigger, obviously a bigger jump,
Yes.
the increase plus the cruiser cost then. So I understand what you're saying, I just don't want people to be misled, oh, we were able to flatline it. We didn't because we deleted a pretty high number item. Right. However, because of response to the town meetings and people in town, we've done a good job of upgrading the fleet, and they're all in pretty good shape at this point.
Very good shape, yes.
Worst case, I mean, assuming delivery is the way it is it the type of thing where you'd say, you know, if you want to keep this going, maybe you pick one up at free cash in the fall, and then maybe you can still skip a new one next year, who knows?
They did go up.
Delivery-wise, no, delivery-wise.
No,
I'm
but
talking.
I'm saying the cruisers went up a significant amount. too.
Yeah, I know 53 is still a good number, but is there one that by the end of the year you would be looking to move out of the rotation?
Yes, there is the Chevy Tahoe that we have that's currently, the oldest Chevy Tahoe that was one of our first that the sergeants were using.
The 2019?
19.
Yeah.
The
I
new
think-
treasury regulations provide that if a town purchases an EV or a hybrid, federal government sends you $7,500.
Mhm.
It sounds bizarre, but I read it 3 or 4 times, and it's right in the regulations. So
So the hybrid.
we've been talking about hybrids.
Where we
Hybrids,
have-
yeah, and there are area departments that are using the hybrid cruiser,
Mhm.
and that could be a way for us to go, sure.
Or at least trade the 2 administrative cars for hybrids as well, you know, where we don't need to be paying the $50,000 cost for the chief and the detective car. or
I guess
court
it all
car.
depends on what the cost of a hybrid is compared to a regular
They
one too.
are.
You know, the batteries are expensive too, so I don't know what the different
Right.
offset is, you know?
Mhm.
What is towing clerk?
Excuse me?
Towing clerk? It's the last page.
Towing clerk, $100.
So, yeah, so that is in case we have to have one of the cruisers, which it hasn't happened, that's why it's so low, towed from a
Okay.
break down here. But if we ever do, it's usually, we're all taking, and then.
I gotcha.
Take care of it. So, tow it for us to get us back.
Isn't that covered under their manufacturer warranty now? Towing to get it fixed?
Roadside assistance and, following that.
AAA,
AAA, we could try the AAA for the town, right?
I think the last time we saw that, wasn't it one of the cruisers got hit by a deer or something was the last accident
Yes.
3 or 4 years ago?
We
Yeah.
just
Cru-
actually-
the cruiser
I know
got
the
hit by
brand
a
new
deer?
Cruiser got hit by a deer,
Did it?
Say that right? The cruiser got hit by a deer?
yeah.
Really? Is that how it happened?
That officer was very
Yeah, he was
aware.
attacked. He used the taser, took the
Angry-
deer down.
Angry deer around Hampden.
That deer was on the run. It was on the run.
Jeez.
It's on the lamb.
If you only had the drone following it, same thing. Yeah. All right. Okay, so
And you're up to full strength now? I mean,
you will be shortly.
Sure.
As of tomorrow, we're full strength.
Exams are when?
Exam was Saturday.
Okay.
4 candidates took the exam. I'm awaiting score results.
Mhm.
Probably tomorrow should happen.
Okay.
And
4 from the department or?
yes,
Okay.
it's all internal. unless
All internal at
something
this point,
passes
right.
and we want something like that.
And if,
I'm
we'll have,
hopeful.
if it don't get our number, we'll have a decision to make. Right, okay.
I'm hopeful we'll get our number.
I would think with 4 people, you would. Right.
it's only 70%. Jesus.
Don got that in his sleep for every year, so. And then your biggest concern is obviously the gap in the station. What is your plan?
So currently, we have had one of,
Your inducements are failing, I'm taking it, right?
yeah.
Right? Kathy,
I
there's
mean,
nothing he
consulting,
can, nothing,
I mean, per diem.
he offered you his car,
I
everything,
mean, we
seriously.
could get you an EV. On an EV.
We could do that.
We can do that.
Federal money.
Right.
So we currently have one of our clerks inside
Mhm.
that's been working hand in hand with Kathy on the payroll side of it. Not the whole picture, but the payroll side of it. And it's been the last several months. Has interest in looking towards that position when it becomes available. So that was a thought as we get closer
So you're gonna handle this, because my question was in terms of like, are we posting this, are we not posting it? You're handling this as an internal promotion, if you will. You have an internal opening and somebody is taking it inside, which does not require outside posting per se. If that person does move into that, that's obviously gonna provide a gap in the other position,
Correct. So,
which then would be posted?
no, so I do feel we currently pay 44 hours a week for the two clerks to be there. By that clerk moving into Kathy's position, she would take over that total position, and then there'd be only one clerk, and I'm looking to extend that one clerk's hours by a few hours.
Because they're both part-time now, really,
Where they're
right?
both part-time.
But the full thing would then be an overtime position if you did that then, right? Because
No.
you're saying,
No.
well, you're saying it was 44 hours.
No, well, they both are part-time, that's what I'm saying.
I know that, but if you got rid of one, I'm saying if she moves up, you only have one person left as a clerk.
Then he would just do 40 hours.
Or
Or
are you
less.
cutting down your coverage?
Cutting down my coverage,
Okay.
so that's what I was looking to. So I was looking to do like as we've been paying attention to it, a 9 to 3-ish.
Mhm.
I don't really need that 8 to 4.
Okay.
Saturday, I still think we do get people coming in on a Saturday, so if a day off during the week was taken off, that person could work a Saturday, get my 36 hours or
Okay.
32 hours, so a little savings there.
And you've probably spoken to that individual, and that's something that's,
That's something
Copacetic.
that both that I've spoken to, yes.
Kathy doesn't want to like,
And you just get something.
People have asked about the posting of the job, though. I have had questions about that.
So as, I don't want to speak for you, John, go ahead.
well, you're saying the other job would not, the Kathy job first, you mean, or, yeah? What's the board think? I mean, I understand what he's saying, internal promotion, internally posted, and one person replied. Okay.
Internal transfer.
Right.
So
And
just a clarification, you did an internal posting for that position.
I have not done an internal posting as of yet. The person of interest, or that's shown interest, has been working and seeing if that person would be capable of doing that job and want that job. So next would be an internal posting.
Okay.
To do that, so, yes. And I think that would be our best
Mhm.
bet for us.
And then with the new sergeant position, you had said you had 4 applicants internal. Is there thoughts about replacing from the rank that moves up?
So we currently have a retirement of Officer Ely.
Right.
That is retiring at the end of March. We had applications go out for a few weeks. February 6th was the closing. I had one applicant that's looking to do a transfer from another community. He's full-time certified, full-time trained. And I'm going to start the process. Background checks are being started tomorrow. And I'm hoping to have him in for an interview by the end of the week.
Do you have applicants?
So for that one applicant.
Is that the one that was interested before?
No.
Oh, really?
That one got picked up by Wilbraham. But that's okay, because I just heard that he went to another community already also, so I'm not sure if he would have retained
Well,
with a smaller community. I think he wanted a little bit bigger community.
hmm.
Wasn't necessarily satisfied as he was with the other one.
Good.
Right.
So the sergeant, so the new hire will take over for Officer Ely, and then within the rank and file we have, I don't need to fill
Okay.
anyone else at this point in time.
Gotcha.
In the near future, that's going to be another conversation that we'll look to have. Right now, our reserve program, we're going to be losing 3 in June. There are the one that we were able to continue, Jim Gormley, which got the blessings to continue working. He's certified. I have 2 other interested reserve officers. I'm looking to bring at least one to the board within the next month to bring on. They have till 2027 to get hours. If they don't make the hours by 2027, they can no longer work as a part-time police officer. The expectation of the individuals I have, keeping around 6, should all make their hours and should all be certified as a police officer as part-time, which will continue to help us, but eventually we'll have to talk about something else.
Good.
Jeez. A lot of moving parts there, chief.
Yes, yes.
When do you win with advisory?
March 9th.
Oh, gosh.
Mm.
Plenty of time to change this.
Tomorrow I'm going into advisory. Actually, tonight.
Really? Just now? Yeah. let me-
You want to change?
Hey, Doug, Scott's on his way down.
Right. I have no further questions for this witness.
Thank you, sir.
I reserve the right to call him back, but I yield the rest of my time to the
There is a
senator from
difference
North Road.
between a person who has shown interest and a person of interest, right?
Yes, yes. I'll point it out.
Thank you, Chief. And again,
Thank you.
thank you, Kathy. I know where I'll see you, though.
Last one, Kev.
Stop it. I'm gonna cry.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm all set, thank you.
That's what we like to hear.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, we have on our agenda discussion of a request from the school district for ARPA funding. And I believe this has to do with the railing.
Railing.
Right. And if you could, if, all I've heard about it is that there's a concern about a railing on the second floor.
Yes.
It hasn't really changed from the time the school was built. And now they're like, oh my gosh, this could be a danger. Right?
Yes,
Okay. And there's two ways to fund it. They have a capital
they can do their own
fund
capital.
from
Yeah.
Minchuk that was, I think, Don, you recall, that was established because there was concern
Yeah.
about maintenance of the old building.
Mhm.
And how do we stop this from happening
And
again?
they promised it would never happen again.
Right, so they would keep money ahead.
Yep.
And I
Or
got
they
a
could ask,
message incidentally today from Aaron that because of supply chain problems,
Mhm.
they do not expect to be able to receive the switches until
that's the, let's
after
focus,
June
let's,
30th. But that's
that's
also
the other ARPA thing.
That's ARPA, yeah.
That's the, no, but this is, I thought you were talking about the railing.
No, I was talking about the switches. 'cause
I know.
That taps ARPA also.
You're just making note that that's an ARPA request that they.
Well,
would
we've
grant
already
us.
approved
second
that,
ARPA
but we've
request.
already approved that one. You're
Yeah,
asking,
right,
what's
you've
on the
approved.
agenda now is about the railing.
Right.
Right. And
I
they
just
have
want to
money,
let you know that, you know, he,
okay, they have money in their stabilization fund that could cover it.
Mm-hmm.
But, so they'd like to keep their money and ask us for our money.
yes.
Okay. I'm inclined to say no. I don't know what the
I
rest
got
of the
kids
board
like
thinks.
that.
Do you really?
They'd rather keep their money and ask me for my
There
money.
you go. It's not a strong thing for me, no. That's what the purpose of the stabilization fund was,
Yeah.
to take care of things like that. And if they have it, okay.
And didn't they say in a previous meeting that they were originally going to fund it through the stabilization? If I remember
That
correctly.
email was so,
They sent the letter that said they're gonna
Right.
send it
They
through
wouldn't-
capital.
honestly, if they hadn't mentioned the letter, I probably would have forgotten about
Yeah.
that fund, but I'd be happy to entertain a motion to wish them good luck and
So moved.
not endorse
Good
ARPA
luck in your
funds for
senior
it.
year or just good luck?
Hmm?
Good luck in their senior year or just good luck?
We've done that before, but I
Right.
mean, yeah.
Do we need a motion to deny upper
Well,
funds?
do we have, well, I'm asking, do we have a formal request for ARPA money for this railing?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
I move, request denied.
Second.
You know, unfortunately, we have to deny your request at this time.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you. You can send our regrets.
yeah, the letter is in the OneDrive.
Right.
Yeah,
But now
letter.
you're gonna write a letter
Okay.
expressing our sorrow that we
condolences.
can't accommodate their request. Make it nice.
all right.
Don't let Don write it. Sorry, Don. I know, but I
I'm
mean,
just-
sometimes he gets
A little direct.
2 in the morning, 3 in the
A
morning.
little direct, am I?
You take your request and, all right,
You should have an updated
picture.
copy of the selectmen. An updated copy of the selectmen budget.
All right,
there you
where are we?
all this
Well, we
paper
filled in the salaries at the top.
we should date these sheets. It's so hard, tough to keep them, tracking them at the office. You know,
10:30.
And I, on line item 511001, I just put that number in there because if the town decides to
okay,
get into recruiting, that's
okay, let's start at the top.
market rate.
All right, so the selectmen salaries, administrative assistant, board of health coordinator, town administrator. Do these reflect the COLA?
Yes. These
Ours
reflect
included?
the grade and step times the number of hours.
Okay, now, we know that there's a change in personnel for both the admin assistant and BOH coordinator. Wouldn't the number decrease?
Yes.
So this is worst case at this point.
This
If
is,
both people change their mind, stayed on,
Yeah.
this is the number we
This,
need.
this funds the position with the current incumbents, but
Right.
if that changes,
It could be better.
money would be.
Well, you know, John, it could lower the number, but I think if they both decide to take the action that they want to take,
Right,
then we might have to bring someone in prior to that.
right. I agree.
Learn
I just wanna
the-
Make
Yeah.
sure what number we're dealing
Yeah,
with
Up
here
the
is
rope,
fully
up the
funded.
speeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I don't know if I touched on this, is there an opportunity to,
Reorganize?
that's what I was thinking about. We talked before, and I've kicked this around a couple years, like, I'd like to go back to, I don't want to say full-time, but it is kind of full-time, 5-day town hall. We had it before we closed in 2005. And it's hurt us a little bit by not having Friday available for our work in terms of getting prepped up for Mondays, things like that,
Residents too.
and for residents as well. I'd like to, since we're advertising the position, we can say what our requirements is. This is a position that's 5 days a week. Now, maybe we say, okay, fine, it's 9 to 4 every day,
Yeah.
or it's 9 to 3 every day, or whatever, but we're here all 5 days. And I think that's something I'd like to see the board consider for that.
Be in favor.
And
of
I
that.
mean, I would like Pam's input as well. I mean, she might say, yeah, because I brought it up to Pam before in she's not interested in it, but I think she understands, yeah, other people might be. It might be something that benefits the office, but it just wasn't right for me.
I have to say, when I started, it was a 4-day week.
Right, that was after the,
I had
yeah.
35 hours,
Mhm.
got cut back to 30 hours. I can certainly understand you wanting to keep the office open.
Mhm.
But a big draw for the townhouse jobs, the fact that we work 4 days a week.
Mhm.
When you change that, you change it.
Right, but also could be a draw of somebody looking for, honestly,
More-
more work.
Sure.
So it goes, I think, both
Mhm.
ways, right? So I'd like the board to keep that in mind. Again,
Yeah, I
is that a
think
thing
also
do
while
we-
we're doing it, I think we also should look at the total structure in terms of who does what,
Mhm.
you know?
We'll also consider to look at this week, a bit of
The
the
job
ball
description
being
style
dropped
stuff.
between
What?
things on
Job
the
description
agenda.
style
It
stuff.
happens
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because
yeah,
of,
yeah.
we have time and here's the close of business, we're going, and I will say, I think we all acknowledge there are people at the town hall in these positions that give more than the time they're paid for. So we do acknowledge that. Sometimes that needs to be taken care of. So we don't have staff that, like my grandfather used to say, those who don't believe the dead don't come back to life should be here at 5 o'clock. That is not the people we have working here. They work till the job is done as much as they can. But conversely, you don't expect people to work for nothing either. So I think it's an opportunity for us with this change in personnel. Just as Don said, is there a change to change the dynamic of the position
Yeah.
and what we expect? That dovetails right into, Bob's remark there. He talks about funding his position. Obviously, your income limited, if you will,
I am. I
or
mean,
our limited.
I'm not raising it because I would benefit from it. I'm just saying that it gives the board an opportunity, when and if you choose, to recruit a full-time person.
As the town
Yes.
passed
And
originally.
I did, yes, and I
Yeah.
did get access to a survey that was done in the town of Wilbraham, because their town administrator is in negotiations. He did a regional survey.
Mhm.
And so that's not just a number plucked out of the air, that's a number that I think, by comparison with other communities, the larger communities are at 150, and the smaller communities are in this range, so,
I think we saw that before you came on board.
yes.
That was a number we were, it was back, hours you had
Mhm.
that really dictated the number you work with.
That's right. And so if nothing happens, this goes back in and gets flushed out to free cash, so.
Mm.
Same with these other positions. I mean, as long as we have, I don't have any letters of resignation. So if, from any of these ones that we were talking about on staff here, so I think that's why I decided to just fund it fully. Get a letter of resignation in time for the fall town meeting or something like that, we could make an adjustment.
Okay, the other numbers, you're still waiting for quotes from insurance?
From, yeah, their insurance,
Yep.
didn't get back to me today, but we have a couple of other numbers to put in your desktop. We've
Yes.
got the IT
Yes,
proposal.
we got that, I put that in, but just the new number that we put in today was the employee benefits.
Right, and I think we also, did we all see the email from Dick?
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
it
this
seemed like a
reflects-
pretty good,
Reflects his numbers.
right, and I think you saw the increase was
Yes.
pretty much in the,
Right.
in one factor of it.
Right,
Not really, honestly, a surprise that that number went up.
okay.
That's, what was it, Don, the Medicare, Medicare was a government tax that really went
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
and not much you can do about that. Short of letting people go, just, you're given that number, and it is what it is.
Well, but when they publish it in the green book, or we publish it,
Mhm.
we're gonna put the 510 number in, right?
That's the previously appropriate number, yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So it doesn't look like.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, exactly, yeah.
Also, the
Because that would be a
veterans,
heck of a,
veterans benefits might be a little low based on the half year.
Mhm.
You can always increase that, but we have a new veteran services and more active, I think, a more active person, so that's.
How about long claims?
Actually, go back to
We have-
long, who's left in longevity? With Kathy retirement, who's left? Highway and actually Kathy's number, yeah, and she's retiring, there's,
Yeah.
so that may be zero. If you could check
Yes.
that, please, yeah. And, just,
How about long claims?
I think we can come down a bit, but, I still think maybe we're not the 65 days anymore,
Yeah, that's right.
95, so at least we keep it in 5 digits.
So you want to go to 95?
Yeah.
from Where we are?
Hate to say it.
Yeah.
Selectmen
Expenses, that-
3,000, legal.
Is that temp
Oh,
help where
just
we
to-
should look into adding some of that funds Don was talking about, if
Yeah.
we need to,
Which one?
temp help?
Well, let me finish selectmen expenses. We did authorize up to 5,000 for work at the senior center for the mapping of the wetlands. Fortunately, it was done at no expense, so that money is still in the current budget.
Good.
Thank you, Gary and Pete Levesque.
3,000, legal.
On page 2, the transfer
I'm sorry, no,
station
finish.
testing.
Hang on, Greg had a point about temp help.
The temp help, and Don had brought up the topic, if we need to bring somebody up to speed while Pam and Jane are still here, then should we look into increasing temp help, or do you think that would be sufficient? It's kind of a low number.
I mean, if you look at expenditures in the past, we really typically, I think a big expenditure for temp help now was probably the secretary in here when we had the COVID thing. And before that, we hardly touched it at all.
You're going to allow government study
Government Study Committee.
to use.
Yeah.
Temp help.
Yeah, but a clerk, I
Okay.
mean,
I mean, I don't know
yeah.
what the number is.
not their
I don't have it in front of
expenses
me.
per se, it's just the temp help part. It can only cover the salary, not the expenses. That would come out of selectmen expenses. That may
Well,
be, if
plus
we're gonna
the-
be covering more of those things, that may be a place to bump up. Because if we're saying, okay, government study, they need publishing, they need stuff like that, that's where we,
Right, but so we don't think we need a bump in temp help if we're bringing people
Oh.
on?
well, we took a $5,000, well, we're taking a $5,000 bump right now.
So let me clarify. We're saying
Okay.
that the
Yeah.
Government Study Committee assistant will come from selectmen's expenses rather than temp help?
The clerk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Clerk,
I
clerk,
don't
clerk.
anticipate that being a clerk work,
Yeah, I see, okay, all right.
but I would like to see selectmen expenses maybe going up a bit to allow us the latitude for helping out with the expenses for different ad hoc committees. Ambulance committee, I don't think has a budget per se,
No.
and maybe they need something.
There You want to go with 20?
Sure, and if we don't use it, it rolls right back.
All right,
Make that 20, please.
selectmen expenses. All right, selectmen. Veterans benefits might go up, you see, but we don't know, right?
We don't
No,
Yeah.
we don't. But transfer station testing, you know, we got the news on PFAS, so that's a round number, but we're going to be there.
You said you were looking into something for that as well?
Yes, I'm looking into a grant that would cover this.
Okay.
The grant, I'm sorry, won't cover this. The grant would cover extending the Scanty Water District system to the 6 houses.
Okay.
And then this
Not
would
the
go
testing.
away, but it's not likely
Right.
to go away in
time.
fiscal
Right.
'24.
Well, I think that's kind of a question. We haven't really had that discussion yet, but if you decided to fund the expansion out of ARPA,
Mhm.
it's strictly under the Board of Health and Selectmen control.
Mm-hmm,
We put it out the bid, we award it. It doesn't require a vote of town meeting
right,
because these already exist inside the district as delineated.
yep.
If we have to wait for a grant, then we have to wait for a grant. Although I did talk to Cliff about this, and I think you heard, if a grant came in, we can use it to refresh
Yes.
and go back into the ARPA
Refresh
money.
Yeah.
So
So I mean,
maybe
so-
not all the 100 is needed because we might get this completed by the end of this calendar year.
Right.
And you wouldn't have all the testing next year. You'd have some,
One-stop
Craig, you
grant
said,
is
right?
not,
You'd still be testing the landfill and the rivers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not the individual properties.
one-stop grant system is a huge program.
Mhm.
And they're saying that we're not going to get decisions and results until early summer.
Okay.
So if we want to do this and go forward now,
Mhm.
we would have to we'd have to use ARPA. And I'm sure we can fund it through ARPA. We have about 600,000 left.
Mhm.
But but back to the transfer testing, we still are on the hook for 36,000
Currently.
this year.
Currently, yeah.
Because you're gonna do one in March and one in June, right?
Right, so
Yeah.
we haven't got, what you don't have is a funding mechanism for the open bills
The-
we
the
have right
current
now.
bills, yeah.
Right.
Board of Health revolving.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, all these things are basically the same.
No other changes have been made recently on this page 2, other
Right.
than the ones we just talked about.
Just to back to Don's point there, I mean, I'd like the opinion of the treasurer, the accountant, and possibly Rose, that when May 1st comes, is it okay to do a line-to-line transfer from unused long claims balance to cover the testing balance? Because it looks like, based on what you saw there,
Yeah.
you know, we'll have,
Got 16,000,
well, yeah, but I mean, we got 80-something thousand left in long claims. but,
Right.
You know, so May 1st, we could do a line-to-line transfer.
well, when you talk to Rose, don't tell her how much is in there.
Yeah, right, yeah. So, but if that would be a
Yeah.
legal mechanism, I think there's a funding
In other
source.
words, a last
For the
60
current
days
budget.
transfer as opposed to going to,
Well, the problem is you'd have to call a special town meeting for this year, or you're into an
Right.
old bill next
so we
year.
can, but you can
And-
do the other process.
Yeah, line-to-line's the way to go, yeah. I think all the rest of them, I mean,
Website. What else we got?
well, IT
Custodial.
service, where was that? Is that IT? Is that on the next page?
That's on page 2.
Well,
Bottom,
this is-
bottom of page 2.
That's not reflective of the quote, though. I'm
It
looking
says
for the
30,
right,
requested
it says
30.
30 here.
No, the spreadsheet that you
Right,
do a total, that's it.
right, so I'm seeing them on here, there's, unless it's in a different part.
That's new, as of today, the spreadsheet, which is
Yeah.
$53,000.
Right.
So when they sent this to you, Pam, today, did they specify this was all the equipment?
Well, I was led to believe that it was, but
Yeah.
if it's not, I mean, you
Because
said you didn't
my
see
laptop's
yours.
not on this list.
Yeah,
The serial number doesn't match any of these. So I don't know if, I don't see, you know, everybody's got names.
Yeah, this is my personal laptop,
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I think
Don
Don's
had
got
one.
one, yeah.
I got one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Don's name on here either.
okay.
Now, right, because those were CARES laptops, right, originally purchased by
I-
CARES, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This came in, as Pam said just today. I haven't looked at it.
I think that's also, remember we were supposed to get the stickers also and put them on the,
Yeah, so
On
it-
devices,
I
yeah.
would have thought that the inventory would be accurate, but I can certainly
Do you have
call
one?
them.
Sticker, do you have a sticker?
Yeah, it's in
I
the top
do.
right there, isn't it?
Okay,
Selectmen,
what's that one?
LT.
Whose laptop is that?
That's a Hampden utility.
And whose laptop is it?
That's the second one,
Utility.
Just
utility.
used for these
Selectmen.
meetings.
So
Yeah.
why don't we have a sticker on that?
You don't have a sticker?
I don't have a sticker either.
Right.
But, these come home with us, so.
Yeah, so something to look into. So I guess when we have that meeting with Robert and
Maybe just Robert or
maybe just Robert, we could ask for, what are we bang for the buck? I think I pointed out a couple of names on that list that seemed,
Sharon, and I
Sharon?
bet that's fire.
computer name Sharon, yeah.
I'll get in touch with
Okay, so we really don't have closure on that IT expense
No.
at this point. Maintenance and
Page three,
utilities.
the custodial number came in today.
Okay,
Pam got the custodial number. It's increasing, and that'll be the annual cost.
okay. The stormwater number, I think I mentioned to you, Don, I'd like to have a meeting talking about, maybe put it in an agenda item for next week.
All right, that was gonna be this week.
I did too, but it's not. All right then. We're gonna have it with the highway guys. Which is probably fine if Mark's here. It's a good time to have that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we get the
So-
action thing worked out, the contract worked out, then I'll add the amount that they have.
Okay, but, so next week's agenda, on Tuesday, we'd like to include the 2 highway items, plus stormwater budget,
Transfer station.
transfer station. So why not organize it where you have the union first, superintendent, and then stormwater, so Mark can stay for the stormwater discussion, and have them at the beginning of the meeting.
You want McNamara?
Yeah, transfer station, yeah.
Where are we
Well,
with
where do
that?
you-
Oh,
We
transfer
should get that
station.
on there too.
That's
Yeah.
for next week.
Yeah.
Okay, you and Jane are still kicking that around?
Did he ever send us a real contract?
Didn't I
Yeah,
send it to you? I posted it in OneDrive.
You didn't send it, but I see it here now looking at it. I never saw it come into an email.
Okay.
The update that we got is the
Oh, yeah,
same
here it
as
is here,
what he
okay.
submitted originally. It's that one page.
Mhm. Okay.
On this budget here, what is wildlife control for 25,000?
25,000?
That's what it says.
1,000?
25,000 requested.
Incorrect. I
Is it
believe
2,500
it's
still?
I'm hoping that's a typo.
It should be 2,500.
Okay. Yeah, what are we?
They're attacking our police cruisers.
Talking-
It's the deer, you
Right,
know?
yeah,
The
yeah.
deer.
Tasers, free tasers.
Got a surge of beavers.
Yeah, beavers, yeah.
And I have been in touch with Ty and Bond to look for a budget number for their participation with stormwater.
Okay, good. Emergency management, that was, so we switched over to the new software. Is this reflective of the cost of the new? Remember, they banged us for the transfer cost, even though we didn't think they were going to.
Correct.
But is this enough?
This number is not one that I put in there.
Right, so I mean, it looks like it's level funded, and I'm worried when we went over and they, remember, Don, they hit us for the initiation fee, if you will. And I'm worried that the annual fee is still gonna go up as well,
Mhm.
so. Traffic
Which was
control.
that?
Oh, the emergency management, we switched from rave to.
Oh, yeah,
elevation.
yeah.
Water district, Craig, I know you had some, the other point, I think, Craig, want to talk about the Board of Health and revolving fund?
Yeah, if we still had the Board of Health revolving fund, we wouldn't be worrying about the shortfall or the testing at the transfer station.
Mhm.
So expenses like that could definitely have helped out.
And I think we have still another year.
Yep.
This,
Yeah, I have to
the
have,
next year will be the 3rd year of our contract with
For
the
health.
regional health system, basically. Finn-
next year,
Finn,
next year will be year 2, won't it?
You
I
too.
think it's,
What?
I think
what do
we're
you-
in year 2.
With Finn.
With what?
With Finn as our Board of Health agent,
We're in year 2.
we're in year
We're in
2,
year
so we're
2,
gonna go
next
into year
year's
3,
left.
okay.
Right,
Year 3. Also, this is on the list. The restoration of the
Right.
revolving fund is on the tentative list for warrant articles.
There's no
So-
stipulation, any mass general law that says if you close an account, you have to wait so long before you can open
No.
it again, right?
I don't think so. And again,
Nope.
just have to get Cliff on board. the pre-sales revolving funds is, yeah. The other thing, water district operations. Craig, I know you had some thoughts about, or John as well, some thoughts about some equipment upgrade. And possibly if we expand the district, you'd take advantage of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're gonna meet tomorrow, Water Commission's meeting tomorrow, and that's gonna be one of the topics I think we'll probably discuss is, you know, if we have to go forward with an expansion again, we're gonna need to perform some upgrades over there. Storage, tanks need to be brought up to code. Not brought up to code, but the ones we have there are 23 years old and need some updating.
And this would be a good opportunity to get it done at the same time.
Yeah, we keep getting told that at some point the DEP is gonna say no more in-ground metal storage.
Mhm.
And that's what our water operator keeps mentioning to us.
If you go above ground, we're not talking the 80 feet in the air type thing, like, not.
I don't think so. No, I think it was just on a pad. You have to put
Okay.
a concrete pad and, like
Okay.
like a cistern of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're putting
That's
a
what I'm
water
saying,
tower
yeah,
in anywhere around here.
Sure, that'd be nice in a Laughing Brook environment, like pictures of Freddie Fox on the side and stuff.
And I think,
Jimmy Skunk.
I think Bob Flagg kicked around the idea before that if, when he was talking about wanting to do that, it wouldn't be much of a larger footprint, maybe, a 20-foot extension of what's there now, but I don't think it'd be crazy.
So how big a tank would they go to? I mean,
Ooh. What do we have now? 15? And it's half full? It's half full.
so if you went to a nice 10,000 gallon tank, you could use it for the fire trucks and stuff.
Well, then that's all gonna be dependent on how much the wells can produce.
Right, 50,000 gallon tank. Just keep it full. Well, you take your time. You trickle through. After a while, it'll be full. So you'll follow up on that. Anything else in the? The big number for us is obviously closing up the the ambulance number and the stormwater number, which is kind of still up in the air at this point. And that's what's the number for implementation. What has to be done and who's going to be doing it? It's kind of like, in my mind, kind of question mark. That's why, Pam, I know you looked into different towns, but I was hoping for towns a little more our size. I know you mentioned a couple that were in the, there was like one that was really close to us and the other was like 15,000 and 20,000.
Right, but there were a number of them that are our size, and I thought I had printed that out for tonight, but I have it. I'll send it to you.
Okay, that'd be good, yeah.
Yeah.
And I did see one of them, you said, is almost a circuit rider, or they're in a shared thing with some other town. You've been working on that? And
I
it's what
went to
needs
the
happen.
regional administrators meeting on Friday
Mhm.
in South Hadley, and I asked everyone there must have been a dozen people there from different towns. Does anyone have any, one doing stormwater that has excess capacity, excess hours? No. So,
It did seem like the larger towns, they put it on their, so to speak, planning, building inspector, but the engineer,
Concom.
they have an engineering department.
No
So they
building.
they
handle
do
it.
it through the DPW, the larger
Yeah,
towns.
right, but they have a large
Right,
DPW,
yeah.
right. Long Meadow, how many people work in the Long Meadow DPW? 20? Right. And they have an engineering department as well, so. We have 4 guys. 5 trucks, for 4 guys. Always a
So,
spare, Don, always a
Move to
spare.
spare.
One question would be, you think it's worthwhile to try and advertise for a combined conservation agent and stormwater specialist?
Why not?
Maybe
Did we already
can-
try that?
You can advertise, but is it?
We haven't
Close enough
established a
or they-
position for it, so that's, in other words, I can't do that until we establish a position.
Well, let me ask you this, would the conservation agent be paid for out of fees or out of a budgeted line item?
I'm sure we could pay most of it out of fees.
Mhm.
Right now, they take fees and occasionally have to hire a consultant
Right,
to do the work that an agent could do. So,
right, but I thought just like with planning, any consultant is paid for by the applicant,
right.
especially subdivision review.
I mean, I don't know that we can actually find someone who has that capacity, but it's about water in both cases.
Okay. document management program. I did not stop down and chat with Ryan. We've been texting back and forth. And again, the type of thing where it's not widespread in the, for instance, in the East Meadow Town Hall, HR uses it and a couple other departments. It's not really,
I talked to Mary McNally about that, and she said the same. I mean, but that, I think that's an issue for management.
it could be, you know, but again, the same thing. Well,
And then you wanted me to check with Entree
Entree.
to see what other options might exist.
mhm.
We have not been able to get Barim into the building here.
Well, let's bring it up. If we're scheduling a meeting with Robert Braceland, the general manager,
Right.
let's put it on the agenda with him. Okay.
I did go on the Northampton, though, which uses it,
They use it.
yeah, and just randomly search thing and
That'll look.
it looked good. I
Yeah.
mean, stuff come up fast, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how easy it is to use for,
Yeah.
you know, to input it, but I went on and looked up like, you know, like some planning board things and stuff like that, and it comes right up, you
I
know?
agree. That OCR part is the critical
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
If
Was
we
it
can
com-
drop in minutes from 30 years ago and still pick up names, that's,
How was it sorting by relevance? Was it like coming up with most recent? Like if you were say town meeting, would it come up with relevance?
You could choose,
Yeah.
you know, oldest, newest,
Okay.
you know,
keyword and stuff like that.
keyword, you know?
That sounds good.
Larger communities use it and use it effectively. Smaller communities are now moving in this direction, but
Mhm.
it's uneven.
Okay, we have a couple votes here.
We have.
Are these new ones or are they old ones?
There's one that hasn't been signed by
There's
the
one I
three
think
of
we
you.
already did.
You did, Corby's, right? You need to tell it to
McCann
us.
Max Auto Sales?
What's that?
McMahon Max Auto Sales,
No,
That guy still?
that's old.
546 Main Street.
No, that's old.
And then right here we have Todd Bellatier, Hampden Auto Body,
Yes, yes.
224 Main Street, used car license class 2. Maximum of 6 cars on the lot at one time. One vehicle to be displayed outside in the stockade area. On town property, second car may be displayed in yard visible to public. Maximum 2 cars on display.
Make a motion to approve, subject to all documentation in place and bond received, the used car license for Todd Pelletier.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye. Selectmen report, I will say that meeting at the Senior Center Building Committee today, one thing talked about was, as this is moving along, there may be a need, well, there will be a need to prepare an RFQ, and that's going to involve money. So the committee would like to request a placeholder on the town meeting warrant with more to come, similar to what was done for the Highway Department addition. What was that, 10 years ago, Don?
yeah,
Seems like it. I'll say
I
5.
would- 5 years, I would say 5 years.
I think 5, but similar to that type of thing, you know, put out the documentation requesting proposals. They couldn't even guess whether it could be approaching $100,000. There was a thing about, you know, you look at the cost of the structure and it's a percentage typically. And if they were ignoring the parking lot part, you know, if they were guesstimating $3 million for the addition, anywhere 100,000 would not be out of sight for the proper RFQ for a project of that size.
And what is this for? Just the RFQ for?
Getting engineering work done for the bid,
A bit.
Is that for the expansion or is that?
for the expansion.
Have they decided on what they're gonna do with the expansion?
Actually, it was a good meeting with the opening of the option to go to the south towards the police station. It really took out the setbacks per se, because it's all one contiguous parcel, it's all town land. With the finger really being moved almost away from behind the, what they call the great room with the big windows. The guy said when he first came there, that was his first thought, was expanding that way, but then he heard apocryphally or whatever about, ooh, wetlands back there. So that's when he came up with the other plan. Says, now that I know that's available, you almost get into, and I referred to the Baptist church.
Yeah.
You know, I think the possibility of walking in, you have the corridor going down and the expansion going out left and right that way is an option. So, and One thing that the architect mentioned, which really probably we wouldn't have thought of, he says, you have to worry about your roof line. The more you expand out the side, the more work you have to do, like raising it
Yeah,
up to get the
yeah.
gable properly. Going out the back with the way it's flowing now actually makes it easier to expand. So that's something to think about. So anyhow, they're working hard. They're meeting every 2 weeks and we have a good crew. So that's my report. Planning last week, one thing that came up was a potential for a warrant article for an accessory apartment, or what's commonly called in-law apartment. It would be aggressive to get it done. They may not be able to get it done for this year. But we have a sample of one that's been very well vetted, the Wolverham one, and they're gonna look at that. The other thing on their agenda is they're looking at modifying and upgrading the sign bylaw, part of the zoning. That will not be done this year. Master plan, they're going to, next week, have a meeting with just inviting the 3 applicants in and just give them questions, work on that. So. That's, let's see, COA board tomorrow and housing authority following week. Greg, Mark?
Water commission tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow late morning,
Cookies?
10 a.m. Tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Touring, touring all the schools tomorrow with the planning committee to see how they're utilized. So
Interesting how that's gonna go.
we'll see.
Nice.
Starting at 8 a.m.
Nicer.
Where are you guys having lunch?
Well,
Turkey fricassee at the
they're
middle
they're
school.
ordering it from the Village Cafe in Wilbraham. But I'm not a lunch eater, so
All right, I will
I'll
tell
just
you,
have a Coke and a
No
yogurt.
free lunch.
their paninis are fantastic.
Maybe I'll get a couple to go.
Okay then.
I don't want them now, but can I get them to go later on?
Hey, very nice.
Can I
Get
bring
them
my
in a
wife
doggy
back here
bag.
for dinner for Valentine's Day?
You are all heart. Yeah. Right. Oh. Hey, Bob,
Okay, the Boston Post cane has been found.
okay, I presented it the last time, so, or the
It's
senior
at
center, or sorry,
Academy
at the,
Hall, and
yeah,
they have a copy. So, I mean, I think the best approach to that is that kind of approach where you keep the cane itself and you present a copy. And then you keep a record of it in the selectman's office so that when the oldest person passes, then you know where to go and retrieve it.
okay. This came up because somebody wanted it, or we have
It just came out of a conversation one day in the selectman's office that I had, and I said, where's the Boston Post cane? Because we were talking about the oldest residents and so forth. That's how it kind of unfolded. So,
all I can remember is like I had to award it to this lady over at Centennial Commons. And she's like, oh, your great grandmother was my school teacher. I'm like, oh, golly, jeez. You know,
well, I mean, the question for the board is, do we want to revive this? And I'm sure at the senior center, they would
I have
be-
to tell you, there were some people like, oh, the cane of death.
I'm on-
Thanks. You know,
I'm
it
on
was
deck,
not,
right?
you know, right? You know, oh, thanks, thanks. I'm next to go. So,
well, it's there if we want to
okay,
do it.
glad you found it.
We have I think we have someone
We
who
have
wants
a
to say something.
resident.
Oh, okay, I guess we'll pause your report. Yes.
I don't know, the proper procedure, but is it okay if I just address the board as a resident of the town, not a neighbor of the community,
Yeah.
just as a resident?
Do you want to use the microphone?
All right, can we,
You want-
not to, Robin, can we let Bob finish his report?
Let me just finish the report.
Okay, thank you.
And you're going to
Thank
have to maybe sit here and use it.
Yeah.
So I just already mentioned the Conservation Agent Stormwater Specialist, whether or not we want to try and move ahead with that. I did ask the Ludlow Town Administrator what happened, and he explained to me on Friday that it was not the Selectmen, but it was the Conservation Commission
Oh, wow.
that vetoed the cooperative arrangement that we were ready to finish up on.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense, really, than the select.
Well, he just said that they have traditional ways and
Yeah.
they didn't want to change.
Right.
So, there's the town administrators meeting that I mentioned. I did give you the minutes of the low-impact development meeting that we had. Mark and I participated on Friday, the 10th, and I am in touch with the Parks Commission, talk to them about the proposal at Memorial Park. Government Study Committee met tonight, and working with the MVP process to get a grant to do the engineering. That meeting, we had a meeting last week, and we're having a follow-up meeting with the state office in Springfield tomorrow to continue talking about that kind of grant to get the engineering work done for the bridge. I think they were somewhat receptive. So that's my report.
Okay. Robin, hi, welcome.
No, my
Robin and I
comment,
were, by the way, the first members, I think, of the bridge side, right?
no,
Hillside
John,
Bridge
you
Site
were
Committee?
asking to be on our committee.
I know. we
I
were
was
like-
on the original committee.
Right.
Working with Pioneer Valley years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
With Bonnie.
We came, that was like 1990.
Please, I know, don't date me. But, and it seems like every year I come and try to address the board about the same issue that I'm very concerned about, especially speaking with a lot of the residents in Hampden, when I can at the dump. I hear it everywhere, and I do appreciate all the work that goes into making a budget, especially to run a town. The obstacles that we have standing in front of us. I do feel, Don, at one of the meetings, you referred to yourself as being cheap. I think you're very, very financially responsible. I would like the board to really examine the budget, take into account that we are in a recession, that everybody realizes the tax rate went down. However, everybody complains their house value has increased significantly. The hardships that a lot of the residents are feeling. I feel that everybody wants a lot of things in the town. We are a town of 5,000. We're not a town. The surrounding communities have 15,000 and more, have a wider tax base. For instance, the senior center, I believe the Wilbraham Senior Center is due to open. Who knows how that's going to affect the attendance at our senior center, that if we could have a common sense approach to all of this, every department comes and wants this more, bigger, better. You guys got to put a priority on what we actually need to function as a community. And I know I had addressed the advisory board, and Doug Boyd told me, and I have been interested in being on the board. And he said, Robin, we've been doing this for 30 years. Now, who does the same thing for 30 years? The whole budgeting process in the advisory board has worked for 30 years, doing the exact same thing. And I just think that nobody does the same thing for 30 years, and that if we look a little bit outside the box and do some prioritizing and just be mindful of what the patient, not the patients, here I'm at work again, what the residents can do. I mean, what kind of town do we want? I hate to chase away the very people that built this town. And I always come and advocate for them, try to do it every year, but just to be mindful and do what's needed, and try to trim the fat and the budgeting. If you have somebody who works 80 hours, well, or, in a 2-week period, or 30 hours, budget for 30. I understand you always have a little fluff and it goes into free cash. I mean, I believe we have a pretty good hunk in the bank, 1-point-something million now. Yeah, I mean, that's a significant amount for a town of 5,000 people. And like I said, people that I've been speaking with, very concerned about accountability and the services we get for our tax money. We all enjoy living in this town, and we want to continue living in this town. and not to chase away those people. Again, and our senior, what is it, like 30% now, are living on a fixed income. Everybody comes and says they want this, they want that, and just to be mindful. And there could be other ways. I don't know how other towns budget. I don't even pretend to know about the budgeting. All I know is how I've been able to survive raising 3 kids and trying to sacrifice. And I think other people are doing the same thing to get to live in this town. And I just really want you to be mindful and be very careful and accountable when it comes to the budgeting
I
process.
appreciate that. I think what you've seen from this board in the past few years is a greater reliance or looking forward to both grants, which are good and bad, they're not permanent, and also regionalized services. You look at how much we're able to help with the budget, with the dispatch, with the health agreement with Long Meadow and other towns. We do more and more of that. It's gonna help.
I
There's a growth.
agree, and we
Let's-
are very appreciative of it. I'm just saying, if you could just
We can
continue
do
to be
more,
mindful.
but we're always on it. Right.
Just always be mindful. That's all
Some
I'm
things,
saying.
as Donna said before, are out of our control. You look at the retirement number,
Oh, we
the
understand that.
health insurance number. It's just, oh,
Thank you, Robin.
hand to God,
Thanks,
the
Robin.
electric
I-
bill, oh, yeah. Thank you,
Just a good reminder.
thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Anything else to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion?
To adjourn? No, I mean,
No?
Again, nothing
there's
to
cookies
say.
downstairs.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good week.